Welcome to ItemPads. This is Bob Krimenacker, the developer. This is a uniquely different way of storing, retrieving, manipulating, and reporting on hundreds, thousands, millions, and even billions of items of information. This is a quick introduction to give an overview of the common functionalities it exhibits. On the screen before us, we have two main areas. We have the banner and the main. In the banner, we can see various points that we can show in the main. We have a calendar, which shows any items that have a date. Recents shows all of our recent pages and pads and items. If we click into, for example, important pages and items, it brings up the important pages and items. If we click back to recents and we bring up Paul Who, it shows the customer record. We have extensive search capabilities. Let's say we wanted to look for a customer and all we really remember was something about toy. Well, we can type in toy. Boards and toys. We can click into that customer and see various information about him. Types shows us all of the particular important types that are currently within the system. We see our orders, 332 of them. We see to-dos, 429. We see our customers, 127. Let's start off with something simple, and we'll add a new customer. So we have here in the banner, add page. Click add page. All of the items within ItemPads require a key. The key is the title, the name of the item. Um, as you start to use it, it'll start to make more sense as to the significance and importance of the key. For now, we're going to add a customer. The important thing about the customer, most important thing, would be his name. Tony Aloni. Here are various types of pages that we can add. We see person. If we click the drop down, we can see different types of persons that we can add: customers, contacts, leads, employees, so on and so forth. There are methods within the system to expand the number of types dramatically. We'll go into that later. Let's click customer for now, and we've added Tony Baloney. We see here quickly an attribute group that shows content, first name, gender. We can click on that. He's male. Contact type, customer. Baloney. We can show other attribute groups, and you can add your own attribute groups, and you can add your own fields to those attribute groups to fully customize the system any way you want to. We can see this group called total order, which shows us total orders and total dollars and date and industry and so on. We can click on perhaps the address group, and we've just added this customer, so there's nothing here. Maybe he lives in Oakdale, New York. 11769. Yes, I grew up there. Now, that's very interesting and important. But the really cool part is when we start adding items. So, for example, talk to Tony on Friday. We'll add him just as a pure item, and we'll just hit enter. Oh, and he's added. Let's add a date in there. We can click the drop down for date for the 26th. And now he's added. Oops, didn't want to show you that. If we come back to calendar, we see on the 26th, talk to Tony. If we click on the 26th, we can see all of the items that exist there. Now we added Tony as a new page, so let's go back into our new pages, and we can see all the pages we added recently, so we can find them very rapidly. Tony Baloney. We could also go into recents, and he would be located under recents. He is a pain. And we can continue that ad infinitum. Let's look at a customer that already exists. We can go back to our types and we can look at customers. And perhaps we can also filter up here. So let's look for that toy situation. And we find boards and toys again. We'll just show the key attribute and we'll go back and we'll show the categories and we'll show all. So now we see all of the items that pertain to boards and toys. We have 2 orders, we have 2 payments, and we have 5 things to do. We can filter when we have large quantities, so we can look at just activities, orders, and to-dos, or other payment. We can get even more well-defined in our filtering. We can see just orders by clicking just orders, or we can see just to-dos, and we see just the to-dos for boards and toys. If we look at the attribute groups for boards and toys, they'll be a little bit better filled. So for example, well, here we have addressing information. Here we have postal code and country, the salesperson that he's connected to, and his credit limit. One can change the style of the display. If we come into the menu, we look for page style. If we have a larger quantity of information on the screen, we can show it as 2 columns or even go to 3 columns. We'll set it back to 1. We can also show it as 2 per row or 3 per row, and we'll set it back to 1. In addition, we can show the attribute groups to the left and the items to the right. Left, nicely displayed. We can show multiple attribute groups, these. We'll click on attribute group, and let's say if we right click, notice how the attribute groups are being added nicely. Let's go back to page style, and we'll show it at the top again. And we'll show just 1. For any particular item, we can edit it fully. If we click anywhere within the item, or sometimes click right there on the menu, we can see a bunch of options, controls that we can do to the item. We can edit it in line, we can do a full edit, we can expand it so that we can see its children, and so on. Let's do an inline for now. And we see a fully expanded item. We can come in and say additional information to follow. Let's say we wanted to, we'll do that later. As soon as we come off the item, it auto saves. Talk to him soon. If we click again on inline, it wraps it back up into an inline presentation. On the bottom of the screen, we have the ItemPads menu, which replicates the item pad that we were seeing before with search and recent and calendar and so on and so forth. This allows for very easy access, so we can jump straight away to the more important areas within the system. So for example, if we click types, we'll see our types in the banner as opposed to within the main. And that allows us to move around very, very rapidly. We can see our various customers that are still being filtered by toy. If we come up here and we say show all, we'll see all of the customers then. We can see two contacts. We can see our employees. We can see various to-do lists. Now, if we click again, it brings us into the to-do lists of the system, and we can click any one of them, and then it displays within the main. So we can see the important to-dos for Project DEF or the business to-dos. If we go back, and you can use the backwards keys, let's go into customer and explore all of our customers more fully. Up top, there's a button that shows us many different things that we can do with the customers. A very, very common one would be to get frequencies and filter. And we'll click that, and that'll better explain what that is. So we'll click on it, and we'll see the customers. Here are all of the fields that exist within the customer type. A very interesting one sometimes is the salesperson. So we click on salesperson, and here are all of the various salespeople. If we click on one of them, we'll see the customers 13 who are connected to this particular salesperson, 1337. If we click on another, we'll see two groups, the 1337 customers and the 1401. And of course, if we click 1337 off, we'll just see the 1401s. We can do that again, just for further illustration. Let's go and show all. We can see, where I clicked on country, we can see our Canadian customers. Or we can see our New Zealand customers. Let's go back into any customer in particular, down under souvenirs. It's currently filtering on to-dos, and we'll show the categories up here. If we click on the group header, the group being the to-do group, we will see many of the attributes that exist for to-dos. So if we click on, well, let's do this first. We can see the to-dos as a browse, or we can see it as freeform, which is a much more expanded version of an item. We can see it as inline, which is what it was, which is how it was displayed before. Let's see it as browse, and we can see the different attributes that exist for to do. We click prop 2, we see status and importance and context, and priority. If we go back and show orders and click the group header, now these are the attribute groups for order. So we see key and the various fields of them, order type and the date and the dollars and so on. We can see in this group various dates and the status of the shipment and so on. And once again, just to show you, we can hit free and it brings up a much more expanded version of the display of the item. While we're in this customer, if we click on the title bar, we will get many different options available for displaying and editing and manipulating this particular customer or anything that's in this main. So for example, we could click add item as we had seen before, and we could say, this is a new item. And maybe we could click the drop down and we could add it as a note. When we add an item to the main, it automatically filters on that particular type, keeping the system always simple to use. We might want to add a new order. You click the drop down and add it as an order. And We're going to go back to showing this as browse, and we can see our new order right there. If we click in the group header, the actual name of the group, it magically adds a new item. So we can add many different items very, very quickly and fill in the pertinent information that we want to. If, for example, I click down under the title, if I click it again, I see a listing of all of the items in down under in a more summarized version. Clicking here, not particularly interesting because it doesn't have any children. This order has 8 children. Click there, and we see all of the children for the order. And by seeing all of the children, we see all of the order details, all of the items that they purchased. They purchased 48 S18 4721s, and so on. That concludes our very quick introduction. I hope you've been illuminated to the possibilities that ItemPads can do for your organizational needs. Well, once again, this is Bob Krimenacker. Bye bye.